Hare Krishna. Welcome to the preparatory video on Nectar of Instruction, verse 1. This verse primarily speaks about the controlling of various urges like the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals. Whoever can control these urges is qualified to become the guru of the whole world. Srila Prabhupada refers to the conversation between Parikshit Maharaj and Srila Sukadeva Goswami in the 6th Canto of Srimad Bhagavatam on this topic of sense control. Srila Prabhupada explains the arguments of Maharaj Parikshit, emphasizing how various spiritual practitioners address sense control differently. As we all know, the three traditional spiritual paths are karma, jnana or yoga, and bhakti. Srila Prabhupada highlights the difference in the attitude of these practitioners towards sense control and at the end recommends the path of bhakti as recommended by the author Srila Rupa Goswami. Please read the first three paragraphs of the purport to Nectar of Instruction verse 1 to get a complete understanding of the above discussion. In the path of karma, atonement is suggested to overcome the sinful reactions to one's activities. However, in the path of jnana, with knowledge, one is expected to give up all activities to avoid sinful reactions. However, in the path of bhakti, positive engagement of the senses in the service of Lord Krishna is suggested as the effective means to control one's sensory activities. In the path of karma, atonement is prescribed to overcome the sinful reactions one might accrue due to sinful actions done out of lack of sense control. Instead of focusing on changing the attitude, these followers of the path of karma utilize atonements as shortcuts to escape the reactions rather than get rid of the proclivities that cause them to do wrong actions. Elephant spraying itself with dust after a thorough bath is given as an example to explain this attitude of the followers of karma. Can actually atonement absolve one from his or her sinful reactions? So please think about it. After discussing about karma, Srila Prabhupada writes how it's important to take up to real knowledge, which is the real process of atonement. Real atonement is to realize one's mistakes and never to repeat them again, instead of repeatedly committing them by finding ways to nullify their reactions. Srila Prabhupada writes there is a standard process for developing real knowledge. It could be either the path of jnana or bhakti. There is knowledge involved in both the paths. However, there is a gulf of difference in their attitude and practices. In the path of jnana, one's personal determination and impersonal Brahman as the goal is given primary importance. Since their goal is impersonal, there is a very little help that they can use from their object of surrender. However, if one is fortunate enough to get the association of a pure devotee, he can easily surpass all the practices for controlling the mind by the mystic yoga process, simply by following the regulative principles of Krishna consciousness, namely refraining from illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling, and by engaging in the service of the Supreme Lord under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master. This easy process is being recommended by Srila Rupa Goswami. In this way, bhakti is recommended as the best process of sense control at the end of this section. After recommending bhakti as the best path to achieve sense control, the next section of the purport focuses on how all these various urges are controlled in the path of bhakti yoga. Srila Prabhupada discusses in the remaining section how to control each of these 6 urges in a Krishna conscious way. Regarding speech, the problem is in speaking about topics unhealthy for one's relationship with Krishna. The solution is not self-imposed silence. The real solution is to speak about topics on Krishna and beneficial for our spiritual life. Regarding mind, the problem is the restlessness of the mind. The solution is to fix it on Krishna in his service. Regarding anger, the problem is uncontrolled anger. Solution: anger cannot be stopped, but can be controlled. A combination of tolerance and exhibition of controlled anger for the service of Krishna needs to be practiced. Regarding tongue and belly, the problem is the greedy desire to eat palatable dishes in great quantities. The solution is to control eating in both quality and quantity. Quality of food, only prasadam. Quantity, scheduled times, and no unoffered food. Regarding sexual impulses, the problem is unnecessary engagement in sexual pleasure. The solution is to utilize the sexual impulse only to beget Krishna conscious children. Srila Prabhupada also discusses the Anuvritti commentary of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur in the rest of his purport, which we will study in the actual class. The conclusion is that one who can control these 6 urges of the speech, mind, anger, tongue, belly, and genitals is to be called a Swami or Goswami. A Goswami engages his senses in the service of Krishna. As opposed to this, the Gosdasas engage in the service of the senses. Without controlling one's senses, no one can become a servant of Krishna. Thank you very much for watching. Please note down your questions and reflections for discussion during the actual session on verse 1 of Nectar of Instruction. Hare Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada.